Hello, everyone, and thanks for hanging out with us for the Behind the Numbers Weekly Listen, an eMarketer podcast made possible by VTEX. This is the Friday show that reviews the most what is happening here. Digital news stories of the week. I'm your host, Marcus Johnson. In today's show, is augmented reality the future of marketing?
I don't think it's quite here yet, but I do think that some of the things being done right now are laying the building blocks for it to happen. And if these building blocks kind of get laid in the right way, it could explode.
Clubhouse launches on Android.
To take a year to get there just didn't make sense at all as a business strategy. So remains to be seen, if this is a little bit too little too late.
Older consumers learning new tricks.
My take on this was that these new tricks are not unique to old people. I think everybody started online shopping more during the pandemic.
Buy now, pay later looks beyond retail.
Buy now, pay later solutions want to be credit cards. That means they need to be available for anything you'd want to buy, basically anywhere.
How to help people find something to watch on Netflix, and swimming through the air. No, thank you. So, we're joined by four people today, at least for the first segment of today's show. We are joined by one of our principal analysts. It's Victoria Petrock.
Hi, Marcus.
Hello there, Victoria. Thanks for hanging out with us. She's going to join us for the first segment, and then the other three folks are going to stick around for the whole show. We have with us our principal analyst who covers everything customer experience and brand marketing. It's Jeremy Goldman.
Great to be with you again.
Hey, buddy. We're also joined by our analyst on the briefings team. It's Nina Goetzen.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Nina. And finally, we have our analyst on the payments and commerce team. It's Daniel Keys.
Hey, Marcus.
Hey, chap. So, today's episode, 4 pieces. The first piece is going to be talking about augmented reality. Is that the future of marketing? We will try to figure that out in 15 quick minutes. We then move to the second segment of today's show, the game of the week, where our contestants Nina, Daniel, and Jeremy go head to head, give us the best takeaways, what they think are the best takeaways from each of the 4 media stories we have for you. We then move to questions answered, the part of the show where we answer the questions that you've emailed in to us. Finally, we have dinner party data, part of the show where we tell you the most interesting thing we've recently learned. We start with part 1. Story of the week: is augmented reality the future of marketing? Patrick Culp of Adweek recently wrote that, unsurprisingly, Snapchat's chief business officer, Jeremy Goldman, thinks augmented reality, AR, is the future of marketing. So I was wondering, is it? Miss Gorman thinks AR technology has already evolved from something viewed by brands as a novelty add-on, to a core sales driver in the toolkits of some marketers. Victoria, I want to start with a piece you recently wrote titled AR and VR are becoming a way of life through retail and fitness. How so? And does this mean that you would agree with Miss Gorman to a certain extent that AR is playing a much bigger role in the world of marketing?
I would agree with that. I'm going to be bold and say I really do think that it's becoming an integral part of a lot of people's shopping processes, a lot of people's, viewing different sports events, viewing different live events, and finding information. I really do think now with the new AR kit and AR core, pretty much on most people's phones, or the capabilities to view some AR experiences on most smartphones, I do think we're going to see more and more of this in our daily lives.
Okay. So by more and more of this, what are we going to be seeing? Snapchat says 200 million people engage with AR on the app every day. Branded lenses obviously have done well. But outside of that, is it going to be gaming? Is it going to be ways to virtually try on clothes, looking at how different furniture styles might look inside your home? Where is AR going next?
Well, I think Snapchat has done a really good job at sort of priming the pump and getting people used to the different, like kind of manipulating images, overlaying things. So that's sort of all still kind of gimmicky. We have some games that have been sort of gimmicky. It's mostly focused on more social media and the games right now. But the more utility people are going to start seeing in this, we're going to start seeing apps coming out. Like I wrote about an app that enables you to view what a tattoo looks like on your arm. You can actually superimpose the tattoo on your arm, try before you buy. And what better to do that with than a tattoo?
Yeah.
There are apps now you can try on makeup. You can try on sunglasses. You can try on shoes. You can watch a sporting event and sort of like track how fast one of the players is running or superimpose stats on top of that. So the more things people are starting to use this technology for, the more useful it's going to be, and the more people are going to be sort of expecting it as part of their daily routine. And I think two things have accelerated that. Number one, the pandemic. People have been hesitant during the pandemic to go to the store, or they haven't been able to go to the store and try things on. And then 5G is coming in. That's going to make all of this so much easier to do. And you're not going to have network connection problems or speed or latency problems. So it's sort of a convergence of the different kinds of applications, as well as the technology and the pandemic that are sort of in this brew of accelerating the technology for useful applications.
So as Victoria said, games and also social, there's some research to back that up. Artillery Intelligence and Thrive Analytics, June 2020. What types of mobile AR content have US AR users experienced? Number one, by a long shot, games, Pokemon Go, things like that, 84%. And a distant second with half as many, 40% people saying social, Snapchat lenses, something like that. Behind that was visual search, using smartphone camera to identify things, and then furniture, placing like IKEA furniture in your house, 37 and 35% respectively. Daniel, how does retail fit into this? And what kind of examples are we seeing in retail that might signify the direction that the space is going?
Yeah, so there's a couple different spots in the purchase funnel where AR can come in. One is product discovery. You just mentioned visual search. You can see a product, take a picture of it, search for it, and then suddenly you know what it is, and then you can buy it if you want to. Similarly, any kind of advertising or filter that then points you towards a product that works. Maybe the more interesting dynamic area is the try before you buy concept that Victoria mentioned, where you could try on a tattoo, but also try on a pair of shoes, try on a hair color, try on makeup, and also try out furniture. Those are kind of the big areas that we're seeing. And those are all very valuable. And I think the next step that technology needs to take for it to be really useful is to get more specific. It's one thing to be able to see what a pair of shoes might look like on you. It's another thing to see, what exact size you should get. Because it's good from just figuring out if you want the product. But what if you could get the exact product? You can limit returns. That would be more appealing. We haven't seen things totally take that step yet. There's some technology companies saying they can do it. That's kind of the next step for it to having a lot more utility for retail.
Yeah. Miss Gorman says from Snapchat, experiencing AR ads is a choice. You're choosing to engage in the world of AR. And so brands being in that world is less offensive. Jeremy, could this be a huge differentiator for advertising? This active engagement versus the passive attack of ads that it sometimes feels like?
Well, yeah, I would say so. I think that generally speaking, it's not just advertising. Let's remember, there are all of these types of in-app experiences that aren't quite ads that do add some utility. One thing I'm covering actually for an upcoming report is some of what, our friends just mentioned here, right? Which is a lot of different purchasing experiences that were impacted. It's not just the fact that you couldn't necessarily go in stores in the same way. How about the fact that tester units within beauty, you didn't want to be putting on a product that somebody else had just done. So all of a sudden they had to start getting used to doing certain things, such as, trying on via the Ulta Glam Lab or Chanel's new lip scanner technology. So I know I'm getting a little bit off topic, but ultimately I think that really brands are finding a lot of different novel ways to, invest in these experiences, and consumers are choosing them. So going back to your original point, yeah, these are things that consumers are generally opting into, which for the most part is always going to be more impactful when you've opted in rather when something is pushed in front of you that you may or may not like.
Right. Nina, what's your position of AR at this point? Do you feel like it really is on the precipice of becoming an integral part of marketers' lives and also consumers? Or do you think actually we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves? Wait a few years.
Yeah, I do think it's a few years off, but I think it is coming. To go back to Jeremy's point for a little bit, I think that's a good point. I'm curious to see if when AR ads eventually become performance ads, if they'd be just as annoying as, normal ads. I mean, right now, they're these branded experiences that you don't get mad at a brand for like sponsoring an event. Same way that it's less annoying when a brand is sponsoring a Snapchat filter. So I'm curious about that. But yeah, I think it's on its way for sure. I know that we did a study with BizRate where specifically for AR, VR shopping in December 2019, like 5% of people said that they had used it to shop. And by February 2021, 11% said so. So it's like more than double just over the course of the pandemic. So I think it's ramping up for sure, but it's still a ways off.
I just wanted to add one of the interesting byproducts of AR ads that we've seen is a lot of times people aren't using the AR functionality to shop. They're using it to try things on, and then they take a picture of themselves with like very fancy designer sneakers, and then that's enough. They take the picture and then they post it on social media and say, look at my great sneakers, without any intent of ever purchasing the product. So I think that's an interesting twist on what's been happening, because as a result of the pandemic, it's these kind of AR experiences that people are creating about themselves online without really experiencing the products themselves in person.
I'm impressed that it's gotten good enough that like it could pass for real.
Yeah. So back at the end of March, Mitchell Clark of The Verge had noted that Snapchat was working on version 3 of Snapchat Spectacles. The information reported that the new spectacles are meant for developers and creators rather than consumers, which makes sense considering they run about $400 a pair. Niantic, the Pokemon Go people, they are apparently working on their own version of AR glasses. So look out for those as well. I guess, Victoria, I'm wondering, are glasses the future of AR?
Well, there have been rumors. I mean, I know that Snapchat and, some of these other companies have been talking about them. There's a couple of different models on the market right now. But the big rumor is that Apple is going to come out with some AR glasses in the next couple of years. And that's going to sort of blow the market open, because Apple's such a big player and has the penetration, has the, user base, has the people that are loyal to the brand. And once Apple comes up with its technology, these glasses could potentially replace smartphones as devices that people are just wearing around. I don't know, I don't know how quickly that's going to happen, but enough people are saying it that it's not a crazy idea.
And I think if you're using the glasses I've always thought that it would be kind of insane just to swap out your phone for a pair of glasses that you probably, a good chance that you might need them to be prescription, and they're going to be very expensive, and you're going to walk around with them on all day long, and people aren't going to know if you're recording them or if you're not. But then I started thinking, if there are certain moments, the way that you don't walk around with your phone in front, well, some people do, but in front of you all the live long day, it lives in your pocket or in your bag sometimes, and you pull it out when you need it, when you need maps or whatever, then I could kind of understand the concept more. If you pulled out your glasses out of your pocket, you put them on your face, and then you used them for the thing you were going to use them for, and then took them off. Jeremy, how do you think consumers are going to take to having glasses introduced into their lives as a new type of device?
Well, I'll put it this way. Consumers hate friction so much that we don't take our phones out of our pockets to use them. We just hold them like idiots as we walk down the street. And the truth of the matter is I think the same thing is true of glasses, right? So if something that where we're going to have that friction of taking on and off, I think that in all seriousness, we're probably years out from this, but contact lenses for mass adoption, something that is actually, not quite biohacking, but getting in that direction is something where I think then that's when you're going to see ubiquity. I think that glasses, especially when price comes down, is a major turning point for the industry, to be sure. And I think that there is a lot of adoption right now. Like the numbers are already a lot different than they were pre-pandemic. But I think that, even that friction of taking the glasses out of your pocket is going to be too much for some people.
Another place where augmented reality might flourish, not just on your face with glasses, but in the car. Insider Intelligence Associate Analyst Mark de Guren noted in March that Audi showed off an AR heads-up display in its yet-to-be-released electric SUV, the Q4 e-tron. This would mean the driver could see miles per hour on the dashboard, as well as the bright blue arrows for turn-by-turn directions, similar to GPS directions in video games. Victoria, could cars be the next AR platform more so than glasses?
I do think that's a very, very strong possibility. Some of the assistive technology in cars already has, that can show you, for instance, on a screen how close you are to the curb. It can superimpose sort of markers that show you how close you are to the curb, whether or not you're in your lane. The next step would be projecting that information onto the windshield and heads-up displays. I think that's very, very possible within the next couple of years. And I also think a lot of the car companies are they're working on all different kinds of strange or sort of futuristic things. I think one of the car companies at CES a couple of years ago was talking, they had a concept car where if you were getting, lonely or tired, they could actually superimpose sort of an AR person or an AR companion in the car with you to keep you company. So I think that the auto companies are really on this, and they are looking for ways to use augmented reality within the car.
Okay. Do you have to select that, or does it just pop up? You're like, whoa.
I think you have to select it, but it's like it was only a concept, but it was, how do you keep people awake? How do you give people a companion? And it was actually like a superimposed person in the car sitting next to you to keep you company as you drive. And that was sort of like an AR feature that they were thinking about.
I was just going to say, I wish that technology was available during high school so I wouldn't have to eat lunch alone.
Oh, yes.
Oh. I was going to say it would be useful if you got pulled over. Speak to him.
Yeah, or that person could teach you how to drive instead of your mom or dad or older brother.
Yeah. Wow. So, folks, to finish out the lead, Ms. Gorman thinks we've reached an inflection point in marketing technology similar to the rise of social media in the early 2010s or the web in the late 1990s. Mr. Kolb writes, Ms. Gorman says, getting it right now is just as important as scoring the right URL in 1999 and the right social handles in 2010. We all know how fleeting the moment is to stake your claim as an early mover, and that moment has arrived for AR. So my final question to you folks, has it arrived?
I don't think it's quite here yet, but I do think that some of the things being done right now are laying the building blocks for it to happen. And if these building blocks kind of get laid in the right way, it could explode. So, for instance, there's this thing called the AR cloud. There are a whole bunch of different companies trying to build sort of like a visual representation of the world in the cloud, that then if you're walking around with your device, things are kind of programmed in so you can see them. That could go in a couple of different ways. It could become fragmented. It could be unified. Some of the devices that are being developed are not compatible right now, but if someone comes up with a standard, if the Apple glasses take off, there's all these things I think that if put in place in the right way, and there's standards and cooperation between some of the manufacturers of these devices, we may see, a critical mass of AR explode the same way social media did too. But it could also go the other way in a very fragmented system where you have a whole bunch of different proprietary systems that don't communicate with each other. And then it becomes very frustrating. You have this kind of glasses. I have another kind of glasses. We can't see each other. We can't interact. I mean, that could happen too. So I think we're waiting to see. If it all falls into place, it could really explode, I think.
One thing to add on that really quickly. I do feel like AR has been a few years away for a few years. And at a certain point, you do have to ask the question, is it ever actually coming? I think Victoria is absolutely right that it's getting closer. So maybe it will. But at one point, everything was supposed to be chatbots in a couple of years. And chatbots are just kind of around sort of now. So I think that it's possible that it never fully locks in. But it obviously has a tremendous amount of potential.
So you're saying that AR is like the Phoenix Suns. They're 2 years away from being 2 years away.
They're a top three team this year, Mark.
Exactly. So maybe AR can have its moments.
Absolutely.
We'll still be using it, I think. In small ways, it's just a question of whether it's going to become a revolutionary big technology that connects everyone versus just something that you use, on an app on your phone in more of a vacuum.
Not to derail us here, but there's and to defend chatbots a little bit, there's such a fragmentation of experience right now. So is augmented reality going to inherit the earth? No, because all of the other things that we've introduced over the last 20, 25 years, they're all going to keep a certain degree of market share. SMS is growing, but that doesn't mean email is going away. The same thing is true for augmented reality and chatbots and so on. But going back to your original question, I think that in a few ways, augmented reality is ahead of social media from 2010 in the sense that there are a lot of different applications right now that are being explored for it, as opposed to social media, which was really just used for social networking for quite a while. So there are also technology hurdles, who has access to the technology, and AR doesn't have the same limitations as VR does in that regard, but it's still something to keep track of. So I think that as consumers are getting more utility out of it, they're going to start to use it more. And as brands start to realize that it's a great discovery device, they're going to start trying new things with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all we've got time for the story of the week. We're going to say goodbye to Victoria at this point, unfortunately. Victoria, thank you so much for joining us for the story of the week.
You're welcome, Marcus. It was great to be here.
Time now for the game of the week, but first a quick word from our sponsor, VTEX. Retail's next competitive threat may come from a business model or channel that didn't even exist a few months ago. This modern dynamic requires companies to adapt quickly, pivoting business seemingly overnight, something traditional commerce platforms just can't support. There's a new enterprise commerce platform on the rise, one that's fast, flexible, and doesn't require 9 months and $1 million to get up and running. Go to VTEX, VTEX.com/eMarketer to learn more. All right, folks, we are back. Time now for the game of the week. Today's game, what's the point? The part of the show where we read out 4 stories and have contestants Nina, Daniel, and Jeremy tell us what they think is the main takeaway of the story. Okay answers get 1, good answers get 2, and Margaret Court level answers get 3 points. Each person gets 20 seconds before they hear this. Whoever has the most points after 4 rounds wins and gets the last word. We start with Daniel. Clubhouse launching on Android. As our first story, live social audio app Clubhouse is finally available on Android, but remains invite only as the company continues to iron out the creases, as it says. Research company App Annie estimates that Clubhouse had just over 13 million users in late March. Downloads have fallen significantly in recent weeks. Daniel, Clubhouse launching on Android, what's the point here?
It's towing a weird line of being exclusive and also becoming more widely available. And this is important to be able to reach more consumers and get more users while still being invite only. So it gives it more potential, can reach more people, but at the same time, does it want to reach everybody? Obviously it would like everyone eventually, but it wants to do it really slowly. It's a weird dynamic.
Nina.
I mean, is this going to save its falling download rates? No, I don't think so. I think it was a moment fueled by FOMO and a desperation for intimacy during the pandemic and the fact that Clubhouse was kind of the only app of its kind. But I do think the moment is past. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to go away, but I don't think that making it available for Android is going to help it, especially as its competitors ramp up.
Jeremy.
If Clubhouse winds up not inheriting the social audio space, it's going to be because of how slow it was to get to Android. To take a year to get there just didn't make sense at all as a business strategy. So remains to be seen, if this is a little bit too little too late.
This is the fastest we've ever played the game. We're not having Blake on again. Oh my goodness, this I knew he was the problem. Guys are flying through this. So 53% of American smartphone users, 53% have an Android smartphone. The rest are Apple people. Judge them how you will. So a lot of people that they're going to be opening this up to, although it's still invite only. Clubhouse co-founder said in a blog post announcing the news that the company plans to welcome millions more people in from the iOS waitlist this summer. But people are knocking now. When they finally open the door to let them in, they may realize there's just a tumbleweed rolling by. Competition is also up. Twitter Spaces. Anyone with over 600 followers can host a chat. Discord stage channels are here. LinkedIn, Spotify, other people also working on their own versions. So maybe too little too late. Our second story, we start with Nina. Older consumers learning new tricks. Last year, British over 65s made up 30% of consumer goods purchases online, up from 20% in 2019, notes an article from The Economist. In August, Britain's Office for National Statistics reported that 65% of them had shopped online in the past year, 11 percentage points higher than the year before. Research firm Nielsen IQ says America's over 65 spent over 50% more on internet shopping than the year before. The Economist piece points out that, quote, brands are also attempting to appeal to the elderly through such things as healthy aging products, which the pandemic has turned into a craze. Swiss consumer goods giant Nestle have launched a milk drink in China, which supposedly aids mobility, close quote. I could use that. Nina, older consumers learning new tricks. What's the point? Whilst I look up mobility drink.
I mean, my take on this was that these new tricks are not unique to old people. I think everybody started online shopping more during the pandemic, especially online grocery shopping. I kind of think they just wanted to highlight these stats. I think my biggest surprise during this was that stat that only 3% of America's ad spending is aimed at people over 50. That was a shocker to me.
Jeremy.
I think that it's true that older consumers did start to finally migrate to e-commerce in a way that they hadn't before. And there are probably a few benefits that are going to impact everybody as a result of this. If you can have cleaner navigations, if you can have better search results, because older consumers might be more likely to get confused simply by virtue of the fact that they're newer to e-commerce. That's something that, frankly, all consumers are going to benefit from.
Daniel.
This is going to accelerate e-commerce's growth timeline a little bit. Before the pandemic, there was this huge swath of consumers who just weren't shopping online as much, and it was kind of a given that they maybe never would. Now they've shopped online. Will they shop as much online as conditions improve? Maybe not, but they know how to. Maybe they like some of it. So that's way more e-commerce shoppers than there would have been otherwise. And so we're maybe years ahead on the number of e-commerce shoppers that are available for people to sell to.
Yeah, Nina, the thing that jumped out to me also was that 3%. 3% of ad spending aimed at over 50s. Joseph Coughlin runs Age Lab at MIT. Also, to pair with that number, boomers have lots of money. America's boomer-led households spend $64,000 a year. Spend $64,000 a year. That's almost twice as much as those headed by young people aged 24 and younger. All right, move to our next story. Let's start with Jeremy. Buy now, pay later looks beyond retail. Thanks to Afterpay and Klarna, it's easier than ever to buy in installments. Now, the model is coming for necessities like healthcare and rent, writes Terry Nguyen of Vox. She notes that one property management company offered residents the chance to pay rent in bite-sized installments throughout the month versus a lump sum at the start of the month. However, it did cost $20 a month to use the service. These types of offerings are also starting to pop up in the world of healthcare, offering smaller payments for often oversized and all-consuming medical bills. So, Jeremy, buy now, pay later, looking beyond retail. What's the point?
This is actually something else that I'm covering right now, by the way. So I'm not just trying to plug my next report.
It sounds like you are.
Maybe both. But I will say that this is changing consumption behavior because psychologically, people look at $3,000 and broken up into 5 payments. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem that much. So as a result, this is probably one of those things that will increase overall consumption because psychologically, it's not as painful to pull the trigger on a $600 purchase, even though it's really 600 times 5.
Yeah, it's like Peloton. It's like treadmill for thousands and thousands of dollars. Are you out of your mind? Oh, $59 a month, similar to my gym membership? Why not? Daniel, what you got?
Buy now, pay later solutions want to be credit cards. That means they need to be available for anything you'd want to buy, basically anywhere. And this is a step in that process. They're also getting increasingly popular in travel and other areas. So they're just going to keep on adding new and more capabilities and segments until they can touch everything. So maybe you only use Afterpay and you just get rid of your credit card entirely.
Oh, goodbye credit card. Nina.
Well, my first thought was, is rent not already a bite-sized installment? But I mean, frankly, I think this is kind of scary, especially for the kinds of people that these companies are targeting. Like I've seen Afterpay on these like hip, fashionable youth sites like Urban Outfitters. And I think on the surface, bringing it to essentials is like, well, it's better spending it on essentials than clothes, but I don't think it's healthy to be encouraging people to go into debt to pay rent.
Some great points, folks. We move into the final round. We're going to start with Daniel. How to help people find something to watch on Netflix. Netflix is working to solve one of the company's biggest threats, decision fatigue, writes Joseph Adalian of culture website Vulture. Decision fatigue being not knowing what to watch, so you just keep scrolling, unsure if what you might choose is the right use of your time, your precious time. Netflix just launched Play Something, a new shuffle feature which chooses a movie or TV show it thinks you'll like and just starts playing it. Don't like it, you can try again. Daniel, how to help people find something to watch on Netflix? What's the point?
I mean, anecdotally, I have trouble finding something to watch on Netflix as well. And I've used Play Something before, and I found it to be not helpful at all because it gave me because I have my own personal preferences, and there's 1,000 shows on Netflix, and it only kind of knows what I like. So I find it to be not really the best solution. Maybe better AI, better tools. But I don't know if just shuffling a huge library is really going to get the job done for people making decisions. Because sure, you want to avoid decision paralysis, but you also want something you want to watch. There's a line that has to toe a little bit better.
How close was it to getting it right?
I don't remember what it was, but I remember hitting Play Something 3 times. So it missed 3 times, which is not great.
It's a Pinocchio looking for Robin Hood at best from Disney. Nina, what do you think?
I actually think that it has a chance of doing really well. I'm one of those people that I kind of don't care, where like I'm not sitting down to watch. I just need something on in the background, like TV. I'll like put on Netflix to clean my room. However, I would say this is less like a shuffle and more like a Spotify personalized Discover Weekly playlist, because they have all of this data on us and what we like. I think it has a chance to succeed. And I think Netflix is really leaning into these lean back experiences. They started testing out a completely lean back channel in France late last year, actually.
Jeremy.
So I think that the point of this is that it's a starting point, essentially, in terms of further personalization and getting recommendations to people. I don't expect that this is really what the final product is going to look like. And I think ultimately, do you really want to commit 3 hours of your life to something that was just recommended to you and just trust the algorithm? That being said, I think that Netflix will be using the data from things like this in order to better understand and make better recommendations in the future.
Very good, folks. Yeah, Nina, on your TV point, so the Vulture article goes on to note later in the article, Netflix's next big product innovation, codenamed Instant Joy, offers a channel surfing on a regular TV-like experience, immediate entertainment that is personalized. With streaming notes, with streaming, you have to choose something before watching it. With TV, you don't have to actively do anything. Yeah, the way Netflix see it, they say the problem plaguing modern audiences isn't too many choices. Instead, it's not having the right tools at their disposal to help them quickly find something they'll enjoy watching. So content is king. Discovery might be the ace type situation. That's all we've got time for the game of the week. This week's winner, a drum roll. Nina is this week's winner of the game of the week. Nina wrecked it this week. It wasn't close. It was pretty close. I'm kidding. Well played, Nina. Congratulations. You get the championship belt to put on, and you get time at the end of the game, which is now, to tell us anything you want to tell us.
Wow. I wasn't expecting this.
Very gracious.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Oh, thank you. That's me. Congratulations. Nina wins this week's game of the week. It's time now for questions answered. Forgot what it was for a second there. Panicked. This is the part of the show where we answer the questions that you've emailed into us. So, we don't have any questions. I don't know what's going on. But we just keep getting really nice emails. Maybe it shouldn't be questions answered. Maybe emails responded to. Anyway, 2 this week. One from Tammy Tayo. Hello. Our friend of the show from Ohio. His email was titled Solidarity with Marcus. Love that title. So for context, I didn't know a few weeks ago on the show, Jillian, one of our analysts, had made an NSYNC reference saying it's going to be May, because that's apparently a song from NSYNC. I didn't know, and I tried to pretend that I did. Didn't go well. I got caught out. So he says, "You're not alone. I too completely missed the NSYNC Justin Timberlake reference Jillian made at the beginning of the week. It would appear as though I too am not one of the cool kids." Anyway, just a quick note. Why is he saying I'm still one? I can still be a cool person. Doesn't mean I'm not cool, does it? Probably. Anyway, just a quick note to say well done. I know in the moment it may have felt like you were the only person in the world who didn't get the reference, but I assure you, you weren't. Thanks for taking one for the team. He also gave a shout out to Victoria's mad editing skills, which is well deserved. Thank you, Tayo. Did you guys get that it's going to be May? If someone said that to you, would you know what they're... Yeah. Nods from, okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks, gang. It's just me and Tayo sat on an island by ourselves. People looking at us in this complete dismay. Okay, second one we've got here is from Christopher from somewhere. I don't know where you are from, Christopher. He's hiding. So last week I'd mentioned the electronics company LG. And Christopher had said that he listened to the May 7th Weekly Listen episode last week. He said, always a great show, very kind. Noted that LG stands for Lucky Gold Star. So I thought it stood for Life's Good, because I'd seen a commercial where the words Life's Good morphed into the letters LG, so I've always associated with that. But it's just a slogan. It was like a branding campaign. Tegan Jones of Gizmodo had thought the same thing, apparently. Writing Lucky Gold Star is a nod to the 2 original company names, Rakhu, pronounced Lucky, a chemical industrial corp, which was founded in 1947, and Gold Star Company Limited. Those two companies merged in 1958 to become Lucky Gold Star. They then rebranded to LG in 95. The Life's Good slogan was conceived by the Australian LG team for the local market back in the day. It was so popular, it ended up being adopted globally and becoming synonymous with the two little letters. They should make it Life's Good, because whilst it has nothing to do with electronics, it's still a good life motto. Ever since I thought it meant LG, Life's Good, I say it to myself a few times a day. And you find yourself saying, yeah, life's pretty good. Unless the Lakers lose, and then you say, my life is over. It was never good. All right. Well, thank you so much to our emails from Temitayo and from Christopher. If you guys have emails you want to send in yourselves, podcast@eMarketer.com is how you get in touch. Thank you so much for those. We move now to dinner party data. This is the part of the show where we tell you the most interesting thing we've recently learned. We start with Nina because she crushed the game of the week like it was nothing. Just brushed it aside. Nina, what you got?
Okay, so I just read on the Wall Street Journal that at LL Bean,
what do you mean you just read?
With buttons and zippers.
This just happened a few seconds ago.
What?
When did you read this?
You know,
if it was today. Oh. Go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
At LL Bean, pants with buttons and zippers have begun outselling pants with drawstrings or elastic waistbands, which I think is the ultimate nature's healing. People are returning to real life.
I was thinking, when were they not? Completely forgetting that everyone's lived in sweatpants. I was like, my goodness. Finally, that should have always been a thing. But I see what you're saying. A return to the world before this chaos. Huh. Interesting. All right, very good. Very good. Who we got next? Let's go. Daniel. Daniel, what's your dinner party data today?
Sure. So this is my opportunity to talk about sports for my job, which is nice because I don't usually get this opportunity.
Yes.
Last week or maybe earlier this week, Forbes put out its new valuations for all the most valuable sports teams in the world. And it's mostly the familiar players. It's the Dallas Cowboys, it's the New York Yankees, it's the New York Knicks, it's Real Madrid and Barcelona. And there's one major shift that admittedly will make Marcus mad, so maybe he'll never have me back on for this before.
Oh, if you say the Lakers.
The Golden State Warriors overtook the Lakers. The Golden State Warriors moved to 6 and the Lakers were 7, which was very surprising to me because the Lakers, the Knicks, the Yankees, these are like institutions that I kind of assumed would always be at the top. And the Warriors were actually able to move over them by, it's $4.7 to $4.6 billion, so it's not like it's so bad. And I think a big part of it is the fact that the Warriors own their stadium and the Lakers don't own Staples. But I was very surprised to see the Lakers slide down a slide. It doesn't really matter for the team. As a Knicks fan, I can tell you being valuable doesn't mean anything. But it was interesting to see the shift.
Why would you bring this up? Are you trying to hurt me, Daniel?
The Knicks are in the playoffs this year. It's exciting for me.
The Knicks are in the playoffs. Jeremy's also a Knicks guy, I believe. Is that true?
Yep.
2 Knicks people. Oh, Nina, say it ain't so. Lakers, Nina?
I don't follow sports.
Oh, no. There's a perfect opportunity 0%. To just be like Lakers and you would have won every game from here on out. Moment.
Lost.
Gone. It's gone.
Sad.
Very interesting. That is very interesting indeed. And yes, the Warriors are loaded. So yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Who we got next? Jeremy, what do you got for us?
So I was going to have something really interesting on aging, but instead I just switched it up to sports, actually, basketball in particular, because something momentous happened this week. Russell Westbrook just hit the all-time record for most triple-doubles by a player ever. So this is a record that stood for 47 years, and I believe he hit
182.
182, yes. And that is now the record of all time. And to give you a sense of how big this is, the last time an all-time NBA record was broken was 10 years ago when Ray Allen passed Reggie Miller on the all-time list for most number of three-pointers made. So it's a pretty big deal. And
huge deal.
For those of you guys who don't know, Russell Westbrook is a very maligned player who is probably one of the more talented players to ever play the game. So he's so very love him or hate him, kind of guy, very talented.
Mr. Triple Double, overtook Oscar Robertson, the big O, for most triple doubles ever. I love him so much. Maybe one of the most underrated players of all time. Has to be top 35 players of all time now. His stats are insane. I mean, he's 9-time All-Star, league MVP, took the OKC to the finals, and now this.
This is the second year that he's averaged a triple-double for the year. I believe Oscar Robertson did it one time. So
yeah, he's done it 4 of the last 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. Stand corrected.
Insane. And Oscar did not. Yeah, I think it maybe 1 year. That's such a good one. Nina, that was your man. That's what we were looking for. Okay. I'm so close to taking the belt from Nina. It's taking a lot of willpower. Jeremy, well played. Well played, sir. That was good. Why should I even go up? How am I supposed to follow that? I got 2 for you. So my 2 come from Stuart, who runs the content studio team. He sent these around last week. Thought they were cool. So, first one. Virgin Hyperloop shows off the future with mass transport in floating magnetic pods. So in the desert just north of Las Vegas, Virgin Hyperloop is developing a technology for passenger pods that will hurtle at speeds of up to 750 miles per hour. It's 1,200 kilometers per hour for those people. Through almost air-free vacuum tunnels using magnetic levitation, notes the Reuters article. The start of May, the typical cruising airspeed for a long-distance commercial passenger plane, about 560 miles per hour. So these pods will move 200 miles an hour faster than a plane. When you get going, it feels like an aircraft taking off, but it promises zero turbulence, no bumps at all. The pods will seat 28 passengers and could be customized for long or short distances. And for freight, it's in the very early stages of development, but Hyperloop's co-founder and CEO Josh Geigel predicts commercial operations as early as 2027, which is somehow just 6 years' time. Virgin Hyperloop is looking to first develop passenger routes in India, where transport is overloaded, and Saudi Arabia, which lacks an infrastructure. So, put this in context. The Eurostar train, which runs underwater between London and Paris, clocks just under 200 miles an hour, and the trip takes 2 hours and 15 minutes. So if you can get to Paris from London in 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's amazing. So if you're able to travel by Hyperloop, that distance between the two cities, you could get from London to Paris in about 35 minutes. You could go for lunch, for crying out loud, people. Lunch in Paris and back again. If this happens, there's a massive chance I'm going back to live in London. Okay? I'm sorry, that's just going to happen. The next thing I've got for you, the world's first floating pool. That's right. It's about to open in London. I say I've got for you. I took these from Stuart. Megan Slack of Living Etc. reports that, quote, on 19th of May, the largest freestanding acrylic pool structure in the world will be unveiled at Embassy Gardens, the prestigious riverside neighbourhood in Nine Elms. In London. It's near the Battersea Power Station. Once installed, the aptly named Sky Pool will span 25 metres, that's 80 feet, across 2 buildings and is entirely see-through, meaning people can glide between the buildings 35 metres, 115 feet above the ground. So imagine 2 buildings about 80 feet apart, then picture a huge, completely see-through raisinette-shaped box laid flat and made of, one would hope, the most extremely reinforced acrylic the world has ever seen. This box, this huge see-through box, links at the top of the 2 buildings like a bridge made of water, and you can swim from one side to the other. It's insane. Would you guys do that? I'm not getting in.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, there we go. Apparently there's a lot of these, though. I started thinking, how many other see-through, not pools, but walkways? There's the Gatlinburg Sky Bridge, Tennessee. There's a horseshoe-shaped glass walkway, the Skywalk, 4,000 feet above the Grand Canyon. There's a glass box in Chamonix in France. In the Alps, 3,000 feet above the ground. And there's a humongous glass viewing platform in Xilanxia in China, near Beijing. It's massive.
For some reason, the walking feels less scary than the swimming. It's like the water. It's so heavy.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I was going to say, because you've got something you can hold the railings or put your foot on something. But with the water, you're just suspended. It's insane. I'm not doing it. Not that I could. I don't have that much money to rent Nine Elms. Anyway, that's what we've got time for today's episode. Thank you so much to my guests. Thank you to Nina.
Thank you. I hope you still think I deserve that win.
I do. You did really, really well. However, let Jeremy... No, you can take it. Nina wins. Jeremy, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I deserved that loss.
And thank you to Daniel.
Thanks for having me. Very happy to come in a very obvious third.
It was a joint second. It was definitely a joint second. Thank you to Victoria, who joined us for the first half of the show. Thanks to another Victoria who edits the show. And thank you to everyone who took time to listen in. If you want to ask us any questions or just say hi, you can email us at podcast@eMarketer.com. We'll see you hopefully on Monday for another episode of the Behind the Numbers Daily, the eMarketer podcast made possible by VTEX. Enjoy those weekends. Hey, some people might be thinking to themselves, who the hell is Margaret Court? Which is a shame. She doesn't get enough love. Does anyone else agree? Tennis lady,
No clue who that
24
is.
tennis Grand Slam singles championships, won more than Serena, who
Never
won
heard of her.
when she was pregnant. Who does that? Who wins when they're pregnant? Did that happen? I think that happened, didn't it? It's madness. Does anyone know what I'm even talking about?
I know the name and that's it.
Oh, just dominate. She ran through the 60s, just dominated the 60s. One more chat. Sorry, Margaret. Trying to get your name out there.